it's Rebecca at Design and Adorn. Welcome. We are back from vacation. Welcome back, everybody. Woohoo! It is Tuesday night. It is 5 o'clock. It is time for our Facebook Live shopping party. Woohoo! Welcome, welcome, welcome. I say the same thing every time. We're not doing a shopping party tonight. We're just doing a party. It's just a Facebook Live party, which is awesome. And I'm super excited to see you ready. All right, so let me just like hit the buttons, make sure I got my comments coming up here. Ooh, you know what I didn't grab? You take a week off and you forget everything. Telephone. To see that we're actually live. Wonder where it is. Not my purse. Is it on the table? Maybe? Alright, cool. So when you get here, give me a shout out. Let me know that you're here so I can see the comments. Trying to get the comments loaded up. Oh, cool. I'm getting them through now. Finally hit the right button. Hi, Allison. Hi, Susan. Welcome, everybody. Which table? Okay, so the table
here. Yes.
Okay, that's not the table I meant, but you're right. That is also a table. There are only, I mean,
use all the tables.
In this room there are only 3 tables.
You use all the tables. Whoa, there's cords.
Oh, hi. Oh, hey. You know what? You should probably plug that one in. Since it's, should be attached to your camera, which is on my dining room table.
Oh, well, thanks.
I'm sorry. Alex is here. I'm here.
You can't see me right now.
No, she's invisible.
I'm gonna talk into this like
You're that's good. I'm sure that helps. Yeah, just plug the lightning cable right in.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I borrowed the mini iPad so that I could watch a charcuterie Zoom class. You're blinking at me. So we tried to get the Zoom onto the TV. We did that for the virtual PlannerCon, but the app I downloaded, apparently you had to like pay to subscribe, and I didn't know that. So every 45 seconds, a thing would block out the entire screen and stay there for 10 seconds and say, would you like to subscribe to Premium? It did that the entirety of our conference. So I decided not to use that app again. You're looking at me like I'm a crazy person. So anyway, I borrowed the iPad and I forgot to bring it back. I'm sorry. Hi, Joanne. Hi, Richard. What was that about our dining room table? That's where I left the iPad mini, remember, from the charcuterie class? Hi, Sally. Hi, Debbie. Welcome, everybody. All right. Awesome. All right. Oh, I better turn down the volume on this thing. I mean, seriously, I wasn't gone that long, and I'm not trying to make an emergency call.
Really? You forgot all technology.
I like how to unlock the phone and turn the volume down. Okay, I don't understand why if I just like cram down on the volume button really hard, it like pops up and wants to make an emergency call. Like, okay, so...
Are you okay?
Yeah.
Do you need help?
No, I'm fine.
Are you sure?
Yeah. No, but seriously, like when I hit this button over here...
It's a button.
It's a button, right?
Agreed.
So if I hit button, then it takes the volume down. But if I'm just like, let's just like cram it in and make it go down faster, then it like pops up and says, are you having an emergency? Do you want to make an emergency call? Is that like a new feature on the new iOS?
I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe it happened. Okay. Anyway, yeah, so glad I totally didn't forget how to hit the buttons and what buttons are. The vacation was clearly very rejuvenating, and all my brain cells are now in totally working order. This is water. Just thought I would clarify. Anyway, what I wanted to show you today was braiding with Delicas. Some tips and tricks for braiding with Delicas and how to use a bead spinner to really speed up that process. So if you haven't braided with Delicas before, let me just tell you, they're kind of on the small side. Let me switch cameras here. There we go. So the Delicas I'm talking about are size 11. Delicas do come in different sizes, just like other seed beads, but the size 11 Delica is the primary size of Delica. And if someone says to you, hey, I'm doing whatever with Delicas, and they don't mention a size, odds are they mean the size 11. And these guys are like a little bit under 2 millimeters across, but what's really neat about them is that they are mostly whole. So I'm gonna try to like zoom in on my bead spinner here. So yeah, those white ones really pop. You can see that the walls of the bead are really, really thin, and that actually makes them super easy to string, which is really cool. So this is what Delicas look like when they're all braided up. Actually, a couple weeks ago, we were working with the Shared Path bracelet, which also uses Delicas. So I thought, hey, let's talk about some tips for braiding with Delicas. So number one, if you're doing something with Delicas and you don't have to count out a pattern, if it's just string a whole bunch of Delicas on the same warp, it's really easy to use a bead spinner. That's really going to speed things up. So this is a bead spinner, right? So it's two parts. There's a base, and it's just, you know, a block of wood with a pole. And then there's the bowl, and the bowl sits on top of it. So if you are picking up your bead spinner, be aware this is a two-part operation, so don't pick it up and fling your beads across the room. I've never done that. Just wanted to warn you about that. I really wish I had a camera for Alex, because the face she's making at me says she thinks that maybe I did throw a ball of beads across the room once. Only once?
Really?
I mean, what do you mean by like across the room? I don't know how far they went.
Oh boy.
Also, another pro tip regarding your bead spinner: best practice, don't set it on top of the pile of miscellaneous crap that you keep on your coffee table, because it might spontaneously in the night leave the coffee table and then throw all the beads on the floor. That's another thing that sometimes happens.
There was a landslide?
There was a landslide.
That was a landslide.
There was a landslide, and I heard this noise. I'm like, oh, what was that? I don't care. And then in the morning, they were just hot pink Delicas all over the tile.
Hot pink. What other color would it be? Okay.
Yeah, so then I had to like sweep up Delicas. They're not Legos though. They won't hurt too bad if you step on them. So, well, it's true. So when you're using a bead spinner, we're gonna have this special needle that's hooked, and it has a very teeny tiny eye. I'm not sure where I can even like set this on here. We might be able to see the eye of it, but it's a pretty thin eye, and the reason for that is we don't want the end of the needle to be too big for the beads to slip over. And in fact, the eye is so tiny that generally your superline, if you're using like size 18 superline, it would not go through. The micro might actually go through. Have you tried it? Did you try putting the micro through directly?
No.
Now that I'm thinking about it, let me see if I can cram that through here. I'll show you my other trick anyway, but while we're here, let's find
I
out.
typically have the thread in there.
I know, I usually do, but I broke it right before this. All right, I'm not gonna be able to do it on camera. Sorry, I have to bring this way close to my face to thread a needle. And the answer is no. It won't fit through there. So mystery solved. You cannot put the Superlon Micro through the eye of the needle, but that's not a problem. What we're gonna do is we're gonna take some other beading thread. So you could use 1G. So like if you're getting one of our kits, usually have a little tiny paper bobbin. With some 1G, you could take a little bit of that, or that spool of white Nymo binding thread. Of course, it doesn't matter what color it is, but you just need a little piece of thread. I've got about 6 inches here, and I'm going to thread the needle. Again, I'll try to do it on camera. Oh, whoa, look at that! I think I might have still been off camera, but I held it really far from my face. Anyway, so I've threaded my needle, and then I'm going to tie an overhand knot. All right, so that means I just take both pieces together, I'm gonna make a little loop around my fingers and pull the tails, both of them, through that loop and tug to close that. So here's my knot. See, there's my knot. I'm gonna get rid of these excess tails, just trim those pretty short. And now, this loop of thread right here, that's the new eye of the needle. So I've basically made my bead spinner needle a big eye needle. Now, please note, if you're out and about in the world, there are big eye bead spinner needles. They exist. They sell them at Michael's. Please save your money. They're absolute garbage. They are too flimsy to do this. Just do the trick where you make a big eye with the loop of thread. Now notice what I did here. I pulled my loop so that the knot is off to the side, like so. I don't want the knot right next to the needle, and I don't want it directly opposite the needle because otherwise it could gum up the beads as I'm trying to string them on there. So with my new loop here, I'm going to put my Superlon through here. I'm going to give myself a nice long tail, and by a nice long tail I mean like 8 to 10 inches, because I don't want the tail to fall out of my loop of thread. All right, are you guys ready for the magic trick? This is the super duper awesome part. I'm right-handed, so I'm holding the needle in my right hand and I'm going to spin the bowl with my left hand, and I'm going to spin it clockwise. Ta-da! Look at that. Isn't that cool? That just took a few seconds. And that's, what do we got? Get in frame. It's like 2 inches of beads in a second. Behold the power of the bead spinner. And then I just slide them down. So now my beads are on the thread. Let's do it again. But let me tell you, special trick. The main trick, the most important trick. Don't let the needle touch the wood. Right? Like don't rest it here on the center, don't lean it over here on the edge. And really, really important, don't let the needle drag the bottom of the bowl. I don't know if my microphone is good enough to pick up the sound of the needle scratching on the bottom. I'm getting some beads, but not like I was before. It's because the needle's scratching the bottom. Let's do it again. But this time, let the needle float. There you go. See how they climb much more quickly? So this is the short needle that comes with the bead spinner. And it will work, as you can see, with the size 11 Delicas. It also works with larger beads, like size 8s and size 6s, but it won't work with size 11 rounds because the holes are too small. But we do have another needle for those. There's actually a lady who winters in Tucson, and she hand makes bead spinner needles. They're much longer. They're like 7 inches long and they're thinner, so they'll work with the size 11 rounds as well. So let me show you another one of these. So here's, already have the loop placed on this longer needle, but let's take a look at it again. And you can see they get kind of like frayed from use, but it's fine. So here's the knot there in the middle. And so I have it offset, so it's not directly by the needle and it's not directly opposite. I want that knot that I made on the loop off to the side. And let's see, Angel says, came in late. Yeah, I'll put it up on YouTube later. It'll also be on Facebook as soon as we're done. You can rewind it and go back to the beginning. So I have my thread through this loop here, and let me pull my bead spinner back in frame. So Yes, Esther, the needle points down. That's the most important thing here. When I teach this class in person and I'm going around helping people, a very common problem early on is people say, hey, I'm not getting any beads, and I come around to look at their bowl and their needle's pointing up. It's really hard to see this on camera, but if the needle points up like this, well, it can't get any beads because the beads aren't floating in the sky. They're sitting at the bottom of the bowl. So you have to make sure the needle's pointing down. You want to be going against the flow. So I'm holding the needle in my right hand and then spinning clockwise. And one advantage of the longer needle is, of course, you can get more beads on there at once. Now, did you notice what I did with the tip of my needle when I stopped spinning? Here, let me put these back in there. Let's do it again. So I'm spinning. Let's get some beads on here. Now I'm going to stop spinning, and then I rotate the tip up so that all the beads don't fall off when I pick it up out of the bowl, because otherwise that's exactly what happens. I'm spinning. Let's get some beads on here. And then stop, and if I just pick it up, there they go. So you always have to rotate the needle so it's pointing up before you lift it out of the bowl so you don't lose everything, because that's a bummer. So stop spinning, tip it up, and then slide your beads, and if you need to, just give that guy a little nudge, slide those down. So now it's going to go, here's my little lead, and then sometimes you have to give it a little push to get it onto the thread initially to help the thread sort of fold in half. Get those on there. And then you can just put on however many you need for the project. Now, if you're doing a project and it said pick up this exact number of Delicas, you can still do that by inches. Off the top of my head, I want to say it's 19 Delicas per inch, but if you don't know that number, you can always just string up an inch of Delicas or whatever beads you're doing and just count how many beads you need per an inch. That way you'll know, you can figure out how many inches of beads you need to string for the project. So I have enough on here to show you the demo. I want to show you one more thing before we get going on braiding. So I'm going to put my bobbin on here. I could tie just a regular overhand knot at the end of this thread, but if I were to lose my bobbin, that little knot wouldn't stop the Delicas from coming off necessarily. So I'm going to do an overhand knot, not an overhand knot. I just said don't do an overhand knot. I'm going to do a slip knot. So a slip knot starts out the same. So I make a loop. I'm going to, I think, zoom out a little bit. There we go. So I've made a loop around my hand, and I'm going to reach through the loop and grab the long side. Oops, I got a bead in there. Get out of their bead. Hold on. Got a bead that was migrating. All right, try again. So we're gonna make a loop around some fingers. Take your fingers out of the loop. Reach through the loop and grab the long side, right? So the tail is over here. So I reach through, grab the long side, hold the short side and the long side with your left hand, and pull the opposite direction. This is a slip knot. This can open and close. So I'm going to open it, put it around my bobbin, and then pull it tight. So now, if for whatever reason my bobbin were to slide down, two things will happen. One, the bobbin can't roll away because it's now tied to my warp. And two, my beads can't fall off because the bobbin's right there. So that's really nice. So I'm just going to wind these up. Cool, so let me know in the comments if you've braided with Delicas before or if you've used a bead spinner before. Let's see, do I have my weight on here? I do. So I'm using the 45 gram center weight. That's the short one. If you have the big one and the small one, the 45 gram is the shorter one. And I'm just gonna make sure that's clipped down here. And all of my projects are gonna start out the same. That's where I braid a little nubbin with no bead. So just top right down, bottom left up, turn the disc. And I did this a little bit before starting the video so that you guys wouldn't have to wait so long to see the nubbin up here. So got that going. Richard says they've used a bead spinner. I know you have, Richard. Angel says yes to using a bead spinner, but not with Delicas. Lisa asked, did you say there are 2 different sizes of curved needles? Yes, there are. So the bead spinner, this one here, comes with this short needle. It's a little over 3 inches long. And these are machine made. They work with the size 11 Delicas, but they are too thick for size 11 rounds because the size 11 rounds have a smaller hole. So this one works with size 11 Delicas, works with size 8s and size 6s. And then we have these handmade needles, and they are longer. They're about 7 inches long, and they'll go down as small as a size 11 round. So 11 rounds, 11 Delicas, size 8, size 6. There's an even smaller needle that will work with size 15s. But the special needle for size 15s is so thin that you want to only use it for size 15s, right? Because it's so thin that if you use it with your larger beads, you might actually bend the needle and damage it. So you want to make sure that you're just using it with the size 15s. I don't use those very often because I don't do a lot of braiding with size 15s. That's itty bitty. Itty bitty. Barbara says she likes a smaller needle. Yeah, there's a lot of like personal preference to the length of the needle, especially when you're working with larger beads. Like if you're working with the size 8s, you could use either needle that you wanted there. Yeah, we sell the needles. They're on our website. So let me show you guys how we're gonna get our Delicas in here. Let's. All right. See how much zoom we can do here. So these go in just like any other bead. I actually think they're pretty easy to braid with. I'm working on micro. Let me see if I can make it focus better. It might be too close to the camera. Oop. Ha, there we go, it did it. Sweet. Let's lock that. So when I use the size 11 Delicas, I braid with the micro. You don't need a core, which is awesome. When I'm this zoomed in, it's hard to stay in frame. So just like when I do my other braids, I'm doing top right down, and I'm going to let one bead slide to the middle, and I just nudge it underneath the first perpendicular cross warp that it comes to. There we go. So my biggest tip for braiding with Delicas, other than using the bead spinner, is to make sure that you're working someplace that's well lit. That can be very helpful because although they do lock very easily, they are quite a bit smaller than a size 8 seed bead. So it can be helpful, especially your first few times braiding with Delicas, to be in a well-lit area so that you can see really easily what you're doing. I hope I come to some of the lighter color ones soon. This is a red, white, and blue mix that I've prepared. Friday, for our show on Friday, we are having a trunk show with Two Charming Chicks. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Two Charming Chicks. They are handmade pendants. I can't remember where she's from, where Diana's from. I want to say it's either like Kansas or Iowa. And she does these really beautiful pendants. Like this one here, it's gonna go with my red, white, and blue mix. So they're different images, and the images are sandwiched between panes of glass, and then they're soldered along the edges with sterling silver solder, and then she embellishes them with these really sweet charms. Like this one has an American flag and a lampwork bead and a little star cutout charm. So that is why I wanted to review braiding with Delicas, so that you guys would be feeling good and confident for the show on Friday. There we go. Look how those white beads really show up on camera. Awesome. So this is actually a really good place where you can look at the point of braiding. So you can see, you know, if we're just double checking our work, we're looking to make sure that all of the holes are facing up, as we have here, and they're arranged like in a little circle. Michelle says she has some issues braiding with Delicas. It's usually too tight. One thing you can do is when you're finished with the braid, if you think it's too tight, you can just stretch it. Even beaded braids can be stretched to relax them. Just give it a gentle tug end to end. Say if you were doing something like the shared path, where we have the demis sticking out the edge and it's important that they be in a straight line. When you take the braid off the disc, just give it a tug and that'll help straighten it out and relax it. That solves a lot of tension issues. Cool, so let me zoom out a little bit. I want to show you guys the sort of thing that we're doing with the Two Charming Chicks pendants on Friday. Hey Alex, do you know how many different pendants we have for the show? It's a bunch. Like how many styles? We have like 3 trays, so like 20 something.
20 something.
Yeah, we have like 20 some different styles. Oh, Richard is asking, are you using weighted bobbins and center weight? Yes, I'm using the our standard weighted bobbins here, and I tied my cords on with a slip knot, and I'm using the 45-gram center weight. Aw, Patty's kitty was sick. I'm sorry. That's a bummer. Yeah, so on Friday, we're going to have 20-some different kits to show you, and the kits are going to be these gorgeous pendants and then a custom blend of Delica bead soup. Hold on, I'm trying to fix my focus. I locked the focus before and then it didn't come back. There we go. Excellent. And your Delica braid is just going to fit really nicely through the bail on the pendant. And then we have 5mm magnet end caps, which are awesome. I don't know if you guys have done any of the Delica projects in my book, but I have one called Water Lilies, and it was you know, a whole bunch of different Delica braids, and then they're finished off with 4mm end caps because, as you know, generally speaking, end caps are only really manufactured in the even numbered sizes, in, you know, the 4, 6, 8, 10. So I used 4mm end caps in the book because that's what I had. And they fit, right? They totally fit, but it's a tight fit. Like when you have pants that are too tight and you have to like lay down on the bed and like stop breathing and then like stand up and jump up and down a little bit. That's how it is getting a 4mm end cap onto the Delica braid. But we are going to have 5mm end caps for the kits on Friday, just like we did for the shared path. We had 5mm end caps because we had them made for us. Super exciting. Super, super exciting to get these special 5mm magnets. So I'm very excited about that. Let's see, Michelle, it looks the same but doesn't have a nice drape, it's stiff. Then I would definitely say just give it a stretch. Give it a stretch before you put your end caps on, and that should help with the tension on them. Because I would say, generally speaking, these are pretty flowy. All right. What does it look like when the tension's too tight? There's really not. That's just like, so Michelle feels like her braid is too tight. Like it's too tight in her opinion, but it doesn't look different. Generally speaking, the weights control your tension, right? So I wouldn't worry about it. If you've never looked at your braid and gone, oh, gee, this is too tight, then it's not. Then it's totally fine. So don't sweat it, Kara. Let's see. What else do we need to know about braiding with Delicas? We did bead spinner, how to get the needle threaded, right? That's super important, right? If you're going to use a bead spinner. Now, you don't have to use a bead spinner. If you don't have a bead spinner or don't want a bead spinner, you can definitely use your big eye needle and pick up the beads. It just takes a lot longer. Is there a way to learn the peyote stitch again? There's a peyote stitch video on my YouTube. Do I have 5mm end caps on those? Not on these are old. The 5mm end caps are on my new stuff. Let's see, where'd that pink shared path go? I think it's by Pago Computer number 1.
Okay.
Which I guess is slightly more descriptive than it's on a table.
Yeah,
Yeah. This one, here, I'll show you. This one is the Happy Camper out of my new book. So it has totally different end caps on it. It doesn't have a magnet on here at all. These are crimping end caps. But that's not what we're going to have in the kit tomorrow night. We're going to have the magnets because I'm super excited about our new 5mm magnets.
For Friday?
For Friday. Did I say someday other than Friday?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I just wasn't sure what we were talking about.
Okay, yeah, for Friday. For Friday. So these are 5mm magnets. Wah-ha! And they fit right on there. Easy peasy. You don't have to suck in your gut or anything or hold your breath to make them go in, which is awesome. All right, cool. So that's what we're doing on Friday. I'm really, really excited about the two charming chicks. We've had her stuff in at the store a few times, and it's gorgeous. It's really, really pretty, and she really, really outdid herself this time. There's going to be some fall-themed, winter, Christmas. There's some really pretty, like, butterflies, all sorts of different things. So anyway, welcome back, everybody. Thanks for watching the show. The replay will be on Facebook as soon as we're done. It takes usually like 5 minutes for the video to compress, and then you can rewind back to the beginning if you missed any of it. And yeah, I'll get this thrown up on YouTube as well. So anyway, I hope that you all join us on Friday night. It's going to be 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern for our new necklace kit with the two charming chicks. We'll see you then. Bye!
Bye!